Hey, welcome in, fans, to another episode of the Two Line Pass podcast. I'm Randon. Here with me, Dustin. Ryan is back from the injured reserve. Guys, we're on a 3-game win streak. The Utah Mammoth 3-game win streak. How are we feeling tonight?
I feel thrilled with the Mammoth, and I am absolutely puckered because I'm watching the Mariners game as we record. But the podcast duties call, so I'm doing this and paying attention to the game. But it's pucker time for that one. So I'm happy.
We appreciate your sense of duty and loyalty to the podcast. Ryan, you're feeling terrific, I hear?
I am feeling terrific. 3-0 to start off the homestand on the year. That's a good start. JJ Peterka coming in hot. So, yeah, it's been a good year.
I tell you, these 3 games have been what we hoped they would be. And Dustin, if you want to take your bow, I would throw some roses your way, a crown from our very own Dustin saying that they were going to go 3-0 to start this homestand. And here we are, 3 wins later. Dustin, what did you see out of those 3 wins?
So I mean, 3 wins is obviously great, but what I really liked is, like, you go back to the Nashville game, the second game of the year. You won that, but it sort of felt like escaping with a win. I talked about how we were 9 minutes and a McBain putback away from starting off the season with 0 points through 3 games. And none of these 3 games ever really felt like they were in question. Like, Calgary gets off to an early power play lead, but we take it back in the second, just control that one. San Jose wasn't really close, and Boston, like, we needed another game-winning goal from Don't Take My Gunthers, but none of those had me feeling like, great, we're going to lose this one. So not only was it great to go 3-0, but just in the manner in which they won was really nice to see heading into what we're about to face.
So we've got Colorado tonight, and Ryan, how are you feeling after those 3 home wins?
Pretty good. It was good to get 3 wins, especially all 3 of them. Now, granted, not the 3 best teams in the NHL we're playing, but me and Randon were discussing this before we started recording. Any team on any day in the NHL can beat any other team in the NHL. So getting 3 wins is big, and especially the win the win over Boston, because that's a matchup we don't have going for us. They are bigger and meaner, but we beat them with speed and them taking dumb penalties and Pasta being the only player on the Bruins who's worth anything.
Absolutely. I think the Bruins were one of those teams to pick that they might be in the tank for McKenna conversation. And they got off to a hot start, 3-0, and then now they, thanks to the Mammoth, are on a 4-game losing streak. And I wish them nothing but the worst for the rest of the season. Few teams I dislike more than the Boston Bruins. I don't know why. I just can't stand the entire city of Boston. Maybe it's because they win so much. At least they did in the early 2000s and throughout. But yeah, nothing but horrible things for them in their future is what I'm hoping. And then, of course, like you said, Ryan, we took down Calgary and San Jose, 2 of the worst teams, but we gave them a shellacking, the San Jose Sharks. And, of course, I would be remiss if I did not mention my boy, Nick Schmaltz, getting his hat trick, getting the haters off of his back. It was a prompt 180 flipped from the fan base, and I just hope that he continues that streak that he's on, or that consistency level, because he's not a natural goal scorer. We've talked about this a lot. He's not a natural goal scorer, and for him to get that hat trick, I think the first home hat trick, I didn't have it on my bingo card. We didn't even put it on the bingo cards, because who would have ever thought, if you had a gun to your head, I think Schmaltz would probably be my 7th or 8th name that I would give for who would score the first hat trick at home. So the fact that he's doing it really, I think, also takes a lot of the pressure off of the Cooley, Peterka, and Gunther line, where they feel like maybe they had been doing it all and they no longer have to do it all. Clayton Keller, who was, let's face it, not the greatest performance from him going into these home games, and he contributes, I think, on every single goal of Schmaltz's, and the Schmaltz and Keller chemistry seems to be back. Whatever they weren't clicking to start the season, at least through these 3 games, they seem to be back on top and on the top of their game. And now we move to the big test. We move to Colorado, a team that sits atop the West, right? Even without their starting goalie, Mackenzie Blackwood, Wedgwood has completely terrorized opponents. And this is the test. How does Utah play against a very, very good Colorado team? I'm not expecting a win, but Dustin, Ryan, do you guys see a win going into Colorado?
I will say the way that Utah is playing defensively right now will give them a chance against almost any team in this league. Like, I believe they lead the NHL in fewest shots allowed right now. And just the way that they defend is going to give them a chance against absolutely anybody. So I won't say they're going to beat Colorado like I did with the previous three, but they definitely have a chance against them with how they're playing defense.
Ryan, if you had to put a number on it, what percentage of a chance do you give Utah to beat Colorado tonight?
I'm going to go 40%. Not that I don't think it's a complete loss, but like Dustin was saying, if defense shows up, if we can stay out of the box, and we can give the Nate Dogg and the offensive juggernaut that is Colorado less opportunity to have the man advantage, I feel like we'll do better. But the top two lines have to be at their best. And if they're not at their best, we don't have a shot. And going back to Schmaltz and Keller both being better, I think Hayden coming back these last couple games, it really does help. Like, he is the glue between the two of them because he's doing all the little dirty, nasty stuff in between those two trying to set each other up with their little plays. He's the guy who's got to go to the front of the net. He's the one getting the puck on the side walls. He's doing all that. So I think if the top two lines and the defense shows up, I will raise our chances. But also the Avalanche have just been so good this year. I don't know if we can. It'll be a good test.
Be absolutely a good test. And you talk about, and we talk a lot on this podcast about doing things that aren't going to show up on a stat sheet. And Hayton is doing those things, and unfortunately he's not being rewarded on the stat sheet, not a lot, but coming back, it obviously made a significant difference. McBain just wasn't able to be that guy on that top line, and it's probably asking a lot of a Jack McBain to do that. But Barrett Hayton coming back has Keller and Schmaltz, and that is what we had hoped, because we were worried, guys. We were worried that what does Turney do when his guys are slumping? And he starts changing things around to get them sparked up, and he didn't have to do that. And it doesn't look like he's going to have to do that for a while. But Dustin, I want to point out something that you talked about how good defensively we have been. Is the fifth lowest shot attempts against, not by much, but fifth lowest in the league, sixth best beginning of the year. It seemed like our penalty kill maybe was the strongest part of the team, and then it kind of, did what penalty kills do. And, you give up too many penalties, you're going to give up too many penalty kill goals. And it kind of has evened the playing field. Defensively, not just shot attempts first in the league. So only one team has fewer goals against, even strength goals against, than the Utah Mammoth. So they are playing lights out 5-on-5 defensive hockey. And that was kind of a narrative that was thrown around, is that maybe they're focusing too much on defense and not enough on offense, but it just seems like their defense is still playing at the top of its game, and the offense is now starting to click. As long as the offense clicks against good teams, that's my concern. I don't want to say, take it with a grain of salt because we beat three bad teams, but we had our offensive explosion against three bad teams. So can we, when we start to face teams of better quality, and as this season starts to shape out and the season starts to develop, can we continue that offensive output? And that's something that I'm really concerned about, especially going into Colorado with a goalie that we historically make goalies look great. And now this goalie is playing at the top of his game, and they already beat us once. But granted, it was a close game. We played Colorado tough. Now, one thing I want to ask you guys, this is a narrative. This will be a narrative throughout this season for us. It was a big narrative last year, and I think it's because it was at least my prediction of who's the most important player on the team this season. And unfortunately, all the pressure falls on Karel Vejmelka. And the goalie tandem has been a solid 2-to-1 start rotation for Vejmelka and Vanecek. Vanecek got his first win, which is good. Got that off of his back. But at this moment, we're looking at 55 games started for Karel Vejmelka as like, I feel the reaching point we get to. He started 55 last year. I was with 23 consecutive starts. Let's talk about the goalie tandem, and I want to lead it off. Justin and Ryan, 55 games started. Over, under for Karel Vejmelka, 55 games this year.
My heart wants to say over, but my brain is going to say under because Tierney is a fucking dick.
Strong words.
I I won't go so far as to say Tierney is a dick, but granted, we're 6 games into the season. I'm not going to look too much into like trends and whatnot. Like, you could argue that maybe Vanacek gets a start against Boston because they want Veggie against Colorado. Like, we talked about that earlier this season when he played against Chicago, that you want him for Calgary. Just maybe during this long streak of road games and playoff teams, he just rides with his guy. You paid Vejmelka to be your guy. He has to be your guy. So maybe, but it's not trending towards the over. So right now, gun to my head, you tell me to take the over under. I'm taking the under based on what we've seen and what Tierney has shown us in the past. But I am still holding out a small bit of hope that he is going to get towards that like 4 and 5 starts in a row for Veggie for every Juan Vanacek start. But it's not looking good so far.
No, I don't mind when you split them up on a back-to-back, which we haven't had this year, but they're coming up. We've got back-to-backs on the schedule. Every team does. And obviously, I don't mind that. You're going to split up the back-to-back. Sure, go for it and start it. But if we see a trend coming out of November, if we see this consistent two on, one off, that to me is very concerning. And it's almost like beating a dead horse at this point. But Vejmelka's playing so well that I don't understand why you would feel the need to bring him back. You started the man 23 games in a row. You obviously know he can handle the workload because you forced him to do it last season. So would it kill you to start him 3 games in a row? I would have loved Veggie to get all 4 starts at home, and then you can go, and then you can start Vanacek on the road. Like, that would have been great. And maybe there's something, maybe he just wanted the home fans to see Vitek Vanacek and get his home crowd, rocking. I don't know, guys. I am concerned. I think that's going to be the big narrative throughout the season is how does he handle this goalie rotation? And at this point, it's 2-1 seems to be the standard.
I mean, looking ahead, I think that's probably what we're going to see following this Colorado game. Because you look ahead to the schedule, our next 3 games, we have a day off in between until the 3rd game. 3 and 4 is a back-to-back. So I'm going to guess we probably see Veggie, Vanacek, Veggie. And then the next 4 are the same setup where you've got a day in between the first 3, and then the 4th is a back-to-back with the 3rd game. So you're probably, yet again, going to see Veggie, Vanacek, Veggie. So it's going to keep going with us 2 or 3 starts in a row for Veggie, and then we see Vanacek. That is probably just a product of the schedule that's coming up, but we're probably going to be here in 2 or 3 weeks still talking about this, saying, is this going to continue, or was this just another product of the schedule? And it's concerning because I do think that you need a number 1 goalie and a number 2 goalie, not a 1A, 1B setup. And I don't think that lends itself to a goalie sort of like building momentum and riding a high. It doesn't keep anybody in a groove.
Not at all. 5 wins Vanacek had over 23 games last season, and I think he hasn't had a truly outstanding season since he was the undisputed starter, and so it's concerning to me. But again, he's played pretty well, right? I'm not going to put any of the losses like on him or Veggie. I don't think that's been the case, but I do want Veggie to get into a groove and just you mentioned this last time. Maybe Tierney just trusts that he has a good backup. And I don't trust that we have a good backup.
There's nothing wrong with trusting that you have a good backup, but you should be able to trust him every 5 games if you need him. Like, do you think last year when he was playing in Florida, do you think Vanacek was prepared to do a 2-to-1 ratio? No. God, no. Do you think Bob would have let him do a 2-to-1 ratio? No, because Bob is the starter. Bob is number one. Vanacek is number two. Why are we doing this shit, Turney? He's not the number one guy. He's not. I'm sorry. Veggie's been our number one guy. He won the job last year. Let him have his fucking job. Let him do it. You know what I mean? Like, he's earned the right to play until he can't. I say play him like this is 2000 Brodeur. Play him 77 games. Put him out there. Let's see what happens.
And I would love to see us go back to that old-time NHL where
I think the only
60
goalie that
starts is like the minimum.
Yeah, Connor Hellebuck would be the first guy to be like, I'm doing all 82. Let's do it.
You know he would. You know he would. But, you got to pay these backups money, and you don't want to pay them for nothing. Maybe that's what it is at the end of the day. But Vitek's only making like $1.2 million or something like that. So it's like, I don't know.
Whatever happened to the days when it was like you have a good number one and then you've got your backup. Like, do you remember, I know, Randon, this is going to make you upset. You're not going to like this. But the 2010 Pittsburgh Penguins had one of the best goalie rotate. You can argue all you want. I can see it in your eyes. You're not happy. When they had Fleury and then Johnson backing them up. Fleury would play the bulk of it, and then they could trust Brent Johnson to come in every 9-10 games, give Fleury a break, and they were still going to play good in front of him. We could have that same thing going. You just got to trust in both of your goalies, and I don't think Cherney trusts Veggie at this point. He's kind of showing he doesn't trust Veggie at this point.
It just is mind-boggling to me how you can start a guy 23 games in a row, whether you have a choice or not, right? Like, we've made the argument that he didn't have a choice, he didn't have a legitimate backup, but you've done it. You legitimately started him, and his argument was, oh, well, if it's the playoffs, it's the playoffs. If this was the playoffs, blah, 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 blah. But then you won't even give him three in a row this season? Like, come on, man. I want to see Veggie start 3 in a row coming up. I want to see Veggie, even the back-to-backs. But
7.
like you said, Dustin, it will shake out the way it will shake out because of the back-to-backs. And the last time we saw a goalie play back-to-back was basically the moment we knew Connor Ingram was out for the season. When we all thought Connor Ingram would come back and play the back half of a back-to-back, he didn't, and that was the end of Ingram. His season was done. So now that he has an option that he feels comfortable with, he will probably stick with it. But I don't want goalie rotation and tourney hate to be my only cause for concern. You guys know me too well that I can't possibly be optimistic about everything. And there's one thing that I am so upset's not the right word. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. Guys, we are awful at faceoffs. We are terrible. We are third worst in the league in faceoff percentage at 42.9, 46.9 when we're on the power play. And worse, we are the literal worst team in the league in faceoffs in the offensive zone. Our offensive zone faceoff win percentage is 39.4. No wonder we haven't been scoring goals. We can't win a goddamn faceoff in the offensive zone. It is appalling. You have Kevin Stenlund, who's one of the best faceoff men in the league, and he can't teach that skill to his guys. Like, how are you not devoting an entire practice to this? You have Kevin Stenlund coming in situations that Kevin Stenlund has no business being in just so he can win a faceoff. That cannot happen. That cannot happen on the year we win Stanley Cups. You can't just bring a guy on for faceoffs and that's it. It does not work. How do we turn around our face-off woes? What is it? What is wrong with face-offs in the state of Utah?
I don't know how to fix it, but it is weird because this has been a problem going back to last season. You talked about how like Logan Cooley not being a typical center who's going to go win you a face-off. And it's always felt weird to me to see like our third and fourth line starting games just so Stenlund is taking the face-off. And when we have power plays and offensive zone face-offs, like Stenlund's line will come in just for the face-off, and then you have to pull back, especially like in overtime. Like Stenlund will come on to take the face-off, and then you have to kind of drop back and control the puck as you shift everybody in to get your attackers on the ice. Like, I don't know how to fix it, but it is a little funny just to see like our fourth line center coming in just to take faceoffs.
Well, I look at this as there's two people we need to call to start winning faceoffs: John Travolta, Nicolas Cage. They're the only two guys at this point who can help with a face-off.
It seems like it. It's that bad, you joke, but it is. It is that bad. And when we're looking at a guy like Logan Cooley, and we're thinking maybe of paying him north of $10 million, and he's the future first-line center on this team, like, we got to get a face-off. Can you imagine if we were actually able to start an overtime line that had a Cooley taking the draw instead of Stenlund, and then maybe you don't have to pray that you get that draw and wait for Stenlund to get off the ice. You can maybe immediately win the draw and go up ice immediately. I feel like it gives you so much more opportunity and creative, I don't want to say play calling per se, but it gives you the opportunity because you have better personnel. And that's not necessarily a slight on Kevin Stenlund. I'm not trying to say that Kevin Stenlund's an offensive dog, but there's a reason he's on the fourth line and not the first line, because he's not exactly your first look offensive guy. You know, he's got a snipe. I'll give him that. He scored more goals last season than I thought he could do. But right now, his main job on this team is defense and faceoffs. And I don't understand how the rest of the team is so bad at faceoffs when he himself is so good. What skill does he have? Is it a size thing? Is it a position thing? Is it just simply veteran experience? And that's all we have to do, which with so many things on this team, we just simply have to let the guys mature. And that kind of sucks, because all this time talking about Turney as a coach, if your coaching mentality and your development strategy at this point is simply to let guys get older, like, where do the coaches fit in there? If that is the only thing we're doing. And I don't know if it just repetition, but it just, I'll tell you this much. I feel bad for anybody with the 60% face-off wins on their bingo board, because you're never hitting it. You're never hitting it. I'm sorry, but it's gonna be a while.
I feel like face-offs are one of those things that, yeah, experience does play into it, but it almost just feels like you're either good at it or you're not. Like, you can work on it all you want, but I feel like it's just, I don't know, kind of seems like a powerful slap shot. It seems like you either can do it or you can't. You can kind of fine-tune it more or less, but you're either good at it and, like, you're an artist at it, like Crosby, Stenlund, Nicholas Backstrom back in the day was probably the best at faceoffs I ever watched. Backstrom was the man. Zetterberg back in the day was really good, but yeah, I don't know how you work on that. Maybe fucking hire somebody. You're a billionaire, Ryan Smith. Like, come on, man, figure it out. You guys have literally all the money. Figure it out.
I just looked it up, and there actually is one bright spot. Somebody we've already mentioned his name before about doing the little things.
Barrett Hayton
on the stat sheet. Barrett Hayton. Other than Clayton Keller, who has taken exactly one face-off, and he won it, so he's at 100%. Barrett Hayton, 40 even strength face-off. He's 56.8, so he actually leads the team. He is over. Kevin Stenlund's under 50% this season, which will change. Obviously, Kevin Stenlund's too good to stay under 50% for long. But Barrett Hayton is leading the team in face-off win percentage. So we talk about the guys that don't get the accolades because they're not scoring the goals. Barrett Hayton, there you go, my man. You keep winning those face-offs, you keep doing those things, and we're putting you on the first star, right? Instead of 6 hits by Liam O'Brien gets you third star, 12 face-off wins gets Barrett Hayton the third star. How about that? Delta Center, I'm here, and I didn't even put the in front of it because I know you hate that. The fans love it. I know you, Delta Center, hate that. But for you, I'll do that.
They really hate being called the. They don't like their first name. They're not a big fan of their own first name.
They
like going by their. No, they're one of those people who want to go by their middle name because they're better than us. All right.
The branding, if you watch the team will never say the Delta Center. It is just simply Delta Center. And the fans will let them know that they're wrong.
I say we just call them like center, Delta, the. Just completely just completely throw it around. Not only put in the, but just on its head, like last name, first name, middle, like just.
What if we called them the Delta Center?
Just to like you go Ohio State type.
Yeah,
the
like
Delta Center.
Delta Center.
We can do that.
What's so great about the Ohio State? It's in Ohio. You know why they call it the Sooner State, right? Because the sooner you leave, the better you feel.
Well, that's Oklahoma.
It's
No,
Oklahoma, not Ohio.
The
Cut
Sooner
We're
that.
all
State
right.
is
Cut that.
Destin
Oklahoma.
knows his geography.
you
I
know
don't know
what? You know, I'm
geography.
gonna
That's why they're
stand
the
by it. Ohio
Oklahoma
sucks.
Sooners.
If your state starts with an O, you suck.
You heard it here first. You know what I think too is it's
Arkansas is part of that too.
the Delta Center should just be grateful, because how many iterations of the Delta Center did they go through where everybody still called it the Delta Center? The only people who really got screwed were those companies that
Vivint
paid
Smart
millions
Home
of dollars.
Arena.
Yeah, Vivint Smart Home Arena and Energy Solutions Arena, and I don't know if there was another one. I don't think there was. I think it was just those
Did
two.
Rio
But
Tinto?
did anybody actually
Did
call
they ever
them
buy
that?
it? I did. Out of spite, I called it Vivid Smart Home Arena because it was more
No,
fun to
you
say.
didn't. Not in
Out
casual
of spite.
conversation.
No,
No,
only to
you
only to
didn't.
close family, only to real close family.
When it was Vivint Smart Home Arena, it was kind of cool to call it the Viv. I liked that. Good nickname.
Well, I'm just saying the Viv is definitely better than Vivint Smart Home Arena. It's a mouthful. Same
The
with
Viv
Energy
sounds
Solutions
like an
Arena.
STD.
We tried to say ESA, but no dice. Can't do it. But we spoke about the Colorado game, but the week is going to go by before we're back in studio and we start that vicious road game, or the road series, where 8 of our next 9 are on the road. We come back at the beginning of November for Tampa Bay, but we've got the Blues, the Wild, and the Jets. The Blues, we're not sure about. The Wild, we're not sure about. Winnipeg is, I don't know why everybody picked them to be as bad as they were. Winnipeg seems to be just as good as they were. All 3 games on the road, including that back-to-back Saturday and Sunday. What are we looking for? What is a successful start to this road trip with those 2-0-1
at the bare minimum.
I think we could go. I think we can go 1-1-1 and be okay with that result. I want at least 3 points. I think you can win. You could arguably should win 2 of those. I think we're going to be better teams than St. Louis and Minnesota, but they're right around the same footing. It wouldn't surprise me if they wind up being the Calgary and Vancouver of last season, where they're right there with us at the end of the season. But I want at least 3, if not 4 points out of that.
I would love to split points with those 2 teams. You've got Winnipeg ahead of us in the Central. Granted, it's very early in this season, so standings don't really mean anything because everything switches so quickly with wins, losses, games played, and everything like that. Winnipeg right above us. Minnesota and St. Louis are both fighting for that wild card spot as we sit comfortably second in the Central. Now, this is why this start is so crucial, because the next 4 games are, San Jose, Calgary, Boston. You were to drop those games, it's like, yeah, it sucks. It's a dire situation, but they're non-Central Division opponents. You now have 4 straight Central Division opponents, and you have to get points somewhere. You can't drop so many points to Central Division opponents. That's where it's going to come into it. When we're talking about fighting for that wild card spot, and I would love to fight for the 3rd in the Central, but you have to win against Central teams. The Blues, I think, is a team that we absolutely need to establish ourselves as better than. And then the Minnesota Wild, same kind of thing. We need to absolutely say that we're better than the Wild. And then we need to absolutely say that we can compete against Winnipeg. Winnipeg being on the back half of that back-to-back is a bit unfortunate. But if we can go 1-1-1, I think that's okay. Obviously, I would like to go 2-0-1 against them and take points from all 3 teams. I don't know if I see it, though. I am concerned, especially if we lose to Colorado. How we lose to Colorado might set the tone, but if it would be nice, though, if this switched from last season, where last season I feel like we couldn't buy a home win early in the season, and then we were just living on the road, winning games on the road. And this year, it's kind of flip-flopped. But you're looking at 4 Central Division opponents that you have to play well against. Colorado, if you lose, whatever, Colorado's going to be ahead of you in the standings pretty much the entire year. I don't think anybody's going to legitimately say the Utah Mammoth have a chance to win the Central. I just don't think that that's possible. But we can absolutely establish ourselves as better than St. Louis, absolutely establish ourselves as better than Minnesota, and absolutely establish ourselves as a team that will compete night in and night out against Winnipeg, who we did play well against last season. We played very well against Minnesota. So it's going to be offense has to continue to produce. Defense has to play. I wouldn't, even if we win a 2-1 game, not going to be upset. If we lose a 2-1 game, probably going to be more upset than if we lost like a 5-4 game. Our offense sucking concerns me more than our defense being good. So I want to see the continue to put pucks on net, continue to get those greasy goals, which we still haven't scored too many greasy goals, but Cooley's off the back goal should count as a greasy goal, right? We're counting the Schmaltz off of Cooley and into the back of the net as a greasy goal. They continue to play tough, and I would like to see, hate to say this, but I'd like to see Veggie get the wins, and then Vanacek, if there are losses in there, it comes against Vanacek. Again, Pete, not trying to be a jerk, but obviously I want Veggie. We did give him a boatload of money comparatively, and I want him to earn it. If he's only playing 2-1, like, let's make him earn that $5 million, right? Ryan, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think the Winnipeg games, yeah, we don't necessarily have to win them, but we have to compete in them. The same with Colorado. We don't have to beat Colorado, but we have to compete against them if we ever want to do anything in the Central Division. And like you said, Minnesota and St. Louis, both are teams we should very easily be above. If not, we'll probably be competing with St. Louis and Minnesota for kind of like those tail two ends of the playoff spots. But I feel like that's where we're supposed to be. We're supposed to come in kind of as the underdogs, upset somebody in the first round. That's what the Mammoth are here for.
Guys, I know this is a hockey podcast, but what you're witnessing is heartbreak, and our hearts go out to Dustin Newman as we find out live in the recording studio that the Seattle Mariners have been defeated by the Toronto Blue Jays. Now, Dustin, I want to ask you this, if you are capable of answering before you start drinking. Is it better if the Dodgers crush the Blue Jays because the Blue Jays beat the Mariners? Or is it better if the Blue Jays win the World Series because they beat the Mariners?
It's better if sleep apnea takes me out of this world and I don't have to watch either of those results.
It's a bad outcome nonetheless.
You want me to come put cyanide in your coffee, big guy?
No, honestly, like, I would feel better if Toronto goes on and like fucking sweeps the Dodgers, right? Like, if you go 7 games then and lose like to a 3-run home run in the 7th to a team that goes on and sweeps in the World Series, like, you're probably the second. There's no shame in being the second best team in the league. Like, obviously, I want to see them keep playing. I want to see them play in their first ever World Series. Like, obviously, want to see them win the whole damn thing. But if Toronto goes on and just mops the floor with Shohei Ohtani and the Dodgers, then that makes me feel better than the team. I've always hated the idea that, like, you want a team that beat you to go on to lose. Like, no, that just makes you look worse. Like, you want the team that beat you and took you out to go on and look even better, because that makes you feel better. Like, okay, well, at least, like, we gave it to the best team in the league.
It does make sense. And bringing it back to the Utah Mammoth, this is the kind of pain that I want for this team. We need to get into the playoffs and get that first playoff loss under our belts so we can have the high of being in the playoffs and then experience the low of being out. But missing the playoffs again would be a disaster because there's no glory in that whatsoever. We can't relish that whatsoever. There's no positives to take from that whatsoever. Let's get to the playoffs so we too can feel the heartbreak that Dustin is feeling. Do you guys have any closing thoughts before we get out of here?
What kind of whiskey should I go drink?
Fireball.
Fireball's not a whiskey.
I think
Is it not?
a whiskey. It's a cinnamon.
Yeah, it is, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, but
How
it's
dare
like,
you?
It's like,
How dare you?
It's
I
like
don't
a
even drink.
liqueur. It's like a liqueur at this point.
I have a banana whiskey upstairs. I'll go sip
That's
on that.
way worse, buddy.
I'm just gonna go.
Come on.
I'm going
No.
Homer Simpson. Let's
Dude,
drink till we can't feel
come on.
feelings anymore. Dude, I'm as basic.
Vodka. You want to drink till you can't feel feelings? Vodka. It kills everything.
Vodka. I think I might have like a sliver of vodka somewhere in the house.
Chug it. It'll help, I promise. Vodka makes the world go round.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll go drink away our problems. Guys, I get to go to the Colorado game thanks to one of our listeners. Thanks, Mammoth Almanac, inviting me out to the Delta Center tomorrow. So I'll be there to watch them play against Colorado. And then, of course, we'll see how they play against St. Louis and Minnesota and Winnipeg. Guys, it's been fun. Thank you all out there for listening to us. Go Mammoth, and everybody, have a great night. Dustin, don't die.